Hi, shalom everyone. I'm going to continue a fantastic series of Daf Yomi. Friends, on page number 30 of Masechet Zevachim, I'm surrounded by archaeology over here in the city of Bet Shemesh, in the famous Omega Park over here in Bet Shemesh. Now, we've been learning about simultaneous statements of sanctification. Now, once an animal has been set aside as a specific sacrifice of Korban, it must be brought as a sacrifice and cannot be redeemed or switched for another. Now, the biblical law says, actually, in Sefer Vayikra in chapter 27, verse 10, includes a penalty for trying to do so. Now, according to the Torah, if someone does try to switch a sanctified animal and exchange it for an ordinary one, both animals will now become sanctified over here. The first remains in its original state, since it cannot be switched, and the second, let's just say, by means of the laws of Tumura, switching becomes now sanctified as well, respectively. Now, the Gemara on today's page of the Gemara, let's say, quotes a Mishnah from Masechet Tumura. I believe this comes from 25b, respectively. That's going to discuss, let's say, someone who has two sanctified animals before him, let's say an olah, a burnt offering, together with a shlamim, a peace offering sacrifice, and wants to switch with another animal over here. That's what they want to do. According to the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir says that in such a case, where a single animal is positioned to replace one of the sanctified animals, and the person says the animal should switch, the olah should switch to shlamim, we accept the first statement, and the animal now becomes an olah over here. Now, Rabbi Yossi says that if he really intended for the animal over here to switch both, recognizing the fact that a person cannot say both things simultaneously, we give the new animal the status of a half olah now, and a half shlamim, respectively. Since such an animal cannot be sanctified, we wait until it develops a blemish that would, let's say, render it at this stage unfit for sacrifice. And let's say that at that time, when the halacha itself allows it to be redeemed, we require that the owner redeem it, and with half of the proceeds purchase an olah, and with the other half purchase a shlamim sacrifice. If, however, he changed his mind when he made his second statement, the animal should switch to the shlamim, then only the first statement is meaningful, and the animal will then become an olah. Now, Tosfot actually is going to point out that when Rabbi Yossi's opinion is discussed in Masechet Baba Kama in 73b, the Gemara concludes that we are not concerned with the subjective question of whether or not the person changed his mind, rather with the objective question of tach kedei dibur, where were the statements made within the same statement. Now, if the two statements were made virtually simultaneously, then they are considered to be the same statement. However, learn the Gemara and enjoy. Take care. Chag Sameach.